Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome to my channel today, and it gives me great pleasure to know you are viewing this video. I'm Professor Olayinka Akanle. I'm a lecturer in the university. On this channel, I do a number of stuff, but all I do, research, sociology, are very central to them. I drop videos also on international migration and relationships. You're welcome once again. If today is your first time of coming in contact with my channel, or you've not subscribed to this channel previously, kindly go ahead and click subscribe on your screen right now. Tap subscribe on your screen right now to join my family of subscribers, and so that you might be alerted every time I drop new videos. Today, Transect work in research. Transect work in research is what we want to be talking about. This is a very important method in research, and people usually don't talk about it. In fact, it's hardly taught in many universities, and it's hardly discussed in many textbooks on research. So that's what I want, and I find it very important that we engage with this. I'm talking in terms of transit work. What does it mean? What is it for? How do you do transit work? What are the advantages and disadvantages of transit work? Don't forget transfer work. I came in contact with this at one point in my research experience. Then I started engaging with it and teaching it. So what is Transect work? Transect work basically is a method of research. During Transect work, you engage in systematic traversal. What does that mean? You walk through your research community or project communities. You define part. What's going to be the part of the project or research? So you identify the path of the project or the research. In context of research, we talk about in terms of the research area. You demarcate, you delineate the research area. What's going to be the area of the research, the field, the scope of the research. If it's a project, you identify the path of the project, then you traverse it. Systematically. It's not just about walking randomly, just going here and there. No, systematic, predetermined path has been identified. So you systematically traverse, walk through, pass through the identified path that has been defined in a systematic way. In the community, it can be the project community, the research community, the research area. So you then walk through systematically, carefully. You pass through, you traverse the area where you want to do the systematization, the definition, the delineation, is what to actually make it very significant. And you walk through it in a careful, systematic way, observing important issues that may affect your research, that may influence your research, or that may affect your project if it's a project. And that's why I always say you can't just want to do research, you just jump into the research, just head on like that. No, there are some steps you have to take if your research is going to be valid and reliable. If you want to get data that is very standard and globally acceptable, research is a science at the same time an art. There are procedures that you have to follow. So Transect work is one of those things that researchers do or engage in to be able to be sure that their projects and researches are very valid, reliable, and world standard and world class. So this is systematic traversal, systematic passing through, systematic walking through defined area, defined path through a community or area. And why do you do this? You do it particularly for observation. You want to observe issues that are very germane to your research, very germane to your project. You want to observe them so that you have problem-free, or you minimize challenges. And you also, aside the observation, you also want to document different aspects of the community, of the research setting, or the research area. Various areas. You want to document, you want to observe the different areas, different issues, then you want to document at the same time the various areas and important issues. That's why when I examine some PhD thesis or I read some report for review, I see people don't talk about their research area. And this is very important. And it's because they've not actually engaged with the research area sufficiently. the research community sufficiently, because you must be able to do Transect work to be sufficiently familiar with the issues in the area that necessitate your research. You also want to document various aspects of the environment and various aspects of the social interactions in the communities that may affect your project and your research. What are the social conditions? What are the environmental conditions? What are the interactional conditions that are very important? And you have to use a participatory approach. You have to involve community people, the research participants, the project beneficiaries. You have to engage them, you have to involve them, and Transect work is a good period to start building the involvement of community people, project buy-in of the community people, and because this will enable your sustainability of the project and the research. So it's a participatory approach, and it involves community people to be able to gather. Then during Transect work, you gather data about the resources in the community, about the infrastructure in the communities, about the social interactions in the community, and the land use, and their livelihoods. What do they use land for? How much land is available, and what do they use the land for? How much of the land is available, and in which way can you define your methodology and strategize about your project? And these are very important. And the data you now generate, sometimes Transect work is the first level approach in research and project. It's a process of gathering data for data gathering. Do you understand what I mean? You want to gather data to analyze for also. It can sometimes it's part of your pilot in project, and even in research can be part of pilot and can be on its own. So the data that is gathered during the Transect work is then used to create a Transect map, or what we call Transect diagram, in which you scribble. Can be advanced 3D map, can be just rugged, longhand, drawn map, to just give you an indication of the path of the project or the research. In case you want to go back or you want to send people there in terms of project officials or research assistants, so you then develop, can be just simple pencil drawn or pen drawn paper, map or diagram to just indicate. You can even be drawing this as we are passing. I've drawn this, previously. So, and it can also be 3D map depending on the level of the research and the project you are doing. So it's for planning. Sometimes Transect work is for planning, planning purpose. You want to just get the Transect work done so that you can plan for the main research or the main project to minimize problems. Don't forget, to minimize problems, to minimize challenges, and to have very excellent data and project. So you also, sometimes generally the purposes are very strategic, in the sense that a major purpose is that it allows you to understand the community sufficiently. Transect work aids community understanding. I've done researches before that we were nearly stoned, nearly mobbed, because the people I consulted for simply told me they have entered the community, they have done Transect work, and I followed them to go and do this research. Or they just saw us as strangers, as if we just coming to invade their community. It's a crisis-prone area that they have been fighting existential challenges. So just simply say, who are these ones? Then they started moving towards us to mob us, until I used my research experience and capacity to manage the situations, and we got out of the place in one piece. So this is a very important issue for us to know. So it's able to wonder if the situation I mentioned, if they had done Transect work, which I recommended, but they pretended to have done, but they didn't do it effectively, they would have been able to understand the community, to know that it's a crisis-prone community, the different parts, and how they should approach different parts or traverse different paths. So it enables us to understand the community effectively and to identify the key issues in those communities. What are the vulnerabilities? What are the threats? What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the needs? What are the strengths of the community? So this will enable you to then plan very well. So because, like I said, it's also very good for planning and implementation. You're able to plan effectively. Then during Transect work, you're also able to engage the community. You do community engagement and sensitization. so that they are aware about what you are doing. They even become part of your team, if you know what I mean. Not about paying them, but they buy into your project or your research, and you then refine your methodology. Another purpose in research is that Transect work enables you to then be able to refine your methodology for accurate data. Or during Transect work, the proposal you have written in your room or your hotel room or your office may not be sufficiently accurate, in terms of reality. Then you're able to refine your methodology during Transect work. Then how do you do it? How do you do Transect work? Number one, you must define the Transect. What are the parts of the research? You have to choose the part. Which community are you going? Why are you choosing the community? Then where the part of the place you want to go, and so that you involve community members. This is very important. Involving a community members is very important. You involve them, then you engage them in dialogue. That's number 3. You engage the community members in dialogue and intimating them with what you want to do, the benefit to them, and some of the challenges they might have. Is it a project? Are you going to have project affected persons? PAP. We call them PAPs. Then, if it's research, how are you going to be able to select your samples effectively? Engage with them and dialogue with them, and provide resources. Sometimes we may need to have community entry officials, community gatekeepers. You provide resources, if possible, money, or even other non-financial resources to do the work. You provide various resources, then you build capacity, your own capacity as a researcher or a project person, and the capacity of your project officials or research assistants. You build capacity in terms of technical way of doing Transect work and other things you may need. Then you collect you collect data. Data collection is a major purpose of also Transect work. Collect data, you analyze your data. If you have collected quantitative data or qualitative data, you analyze it. From your analysis, then you create a Transect diagram, you create a Transect map. Don't do a research or a project without Transect work. I recommend Transect work for you. It's very important. Don't do a project or a research without Transect work. It's very important. You create a Transect diagram or Transect map, then you do further research after that. You can do further research, collect primary data on them again, or secondary data, depending on what you want to do. Then what are the advantages of Transect work? A lot of advantages. I love Transect work. Seriously. So what's the advantage? Number one, it's relatively inexpensive. Because you don't walk through the area. You don't need to spend so much money. Just engage the people. Then it's also participatory. It gives you the opportunity to engage other people in the community to participate in the Transect work. In the Transect work. Then it gives you a quick overview of the community, of the people, of the area, the land use, social interaction, important groups in the community, the possible participants, and the rest of them. So it's quick. You just walk through the community in a systematic way, carefully, and it gives you, quick overview upon which you can plan the main research or the project. It gives you multi-level data, multi-sectoral data also, because you can engage with different levels of people in the community and different sectors of people in the community. So you are able to have different data among the upper class, lower class, indigene, non-indigene, middle class, the areas of resources and the rest of them. So you have multi-sectoral data, and you also have multi-level data for you. But then it also gives you opportunity to engage the community. Then it gives you early warning sign, in the sense that if that area will be a problematic area, or if the project will not survive there, or if the research will fail there, or if the place is not the appropriate place for the research you want to do, you have the early warning sign. As you are traversing, wow, am I sure this place, am I going to get the right responses or data in this place? This is the best place to do this research, or do I go elsewhere? So you have what I call early warning sign. If there's going to be a problem, or if the place is not appropriate, then it gives you the opportunity to have the buy-in of the people. If it's an appropriate place for your work, for your project, for your research, because you are traversing the community with these people, they buy into it. They share understanding along the line, and it also it gives you easy understanding. So Transect work can be easy. You don't need to go It's not rocket science. It's just about systematic working through and know what you are looking for. Then through your Transect work, you create awareness about the project, about the research. It gives you ability to create awareness. People already know. You can't be traversing a community without people asking you questions, without you going through what I call community entry. I'll do another video on this later in terms of community entry. You must have entered the community appropriately, so they get to know what you are doing. Awareness is being created directly or indirectly. But there are two major disadvantages I will tell you. Number one is that it can lead to fatigue on the part of the community members, because they may make you go through repeated visits. So you may have what we call research fatigue or project fatigue. You've been before, you are coming again, asking them questions again. They are also busy, so you can create fatigue, research fatigue. So you have to manage it very well to be sure that you don't bother them and you don't stress them. Then also, it can also pre-warn the community. If it's a project that is sensitive, if it's a research that is sensitive, it can pre-warn them and they can develop resistance. They may say they don't want because they have been warned, they've seen you in advance, they've listened to you. But when you are come for the main project, they may sue you, they may have sued you. If it's a project that will affect their livelihood sometimes. Or if a research that will ask them questions they don't want to answer, they simply decline, they simply stop you at that point in time, or sue you. In that case, the project becomes impossible. The research becomes impossible. So it depends on how you manage the disadvantage and the advantages. So you're able to, disadvantages are there, but the advantages are pretty much more than disadvantages. And it depends on how you're able to manage the situation. Till I see you in my next video, thank you very much and please subscribe. And bye for now.